Hello Brigadiers and Brigadettes, this is your captain speaking. Welcome to my channel, now let's jump into some hockey content. Hello everybody, we will be previewing the second round matchup of the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Please make sure to subscribe if you have not, and then if anybody enjoys this video, please give it a thumbs up, I appreciate that so much. So, let's talk about these two teams and how we got here. So the Hurricanes had a dominant year. They won their division title for the first time since the 06 title season. I was in kindergarten that year. And they went on to play the Predators in the first round. And after 4 straight overtimes from games 3 to 6, they ended up finishing off the series a little bit later than I think a lot of people expected. And then the Lightning, they dealt with some injuries, but they had a good trade deadline. And they finished third in the Central Division. That was pretty tough this year. And they ended up upsetting. I don't really think that was really an upset in my eyes anyway. The Florida Panthers in 6 games, and that's what happened there. So what storylines should we follow for this series? Well, I think a big one is going to be, can Andrei Svechnikov get going? Now, he's a great young player that averaged .76 points per game during the regular season, but in the playoffs he only had, I think, 3 points. And while points aren't everything, you're likely going to have to start getting some goals, some assists at a higher rate against the Lightning especially. Now, the first thing that we need to focus on here is that while Carolina has a lot of depth, I think it's going to be really hard with the way Tampa limits shots in the inside, how they keep it to the outside a lot, how they're going to have to, for Carolina, have Aho and probably Svechnikov step up. Yes, they have depth, but those guys are really going to be hindered, I think, by Tampa Bay. So the 2 stars, I guess you should say. I do think Aho is a star. Svechnikov, I don't know yet. Really good young player, but I don't know if he's a star yet. Those 2 are going to have to step up, and we'll see how that goes there. The second thing that we need to focus on is this is a perfect time for Svechnikov to boost his value even more. Now, this could be a big payday for him, so why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone, have a great playoff series, upset the Lightning. I guess it's not an upset because they're the 1 seed, but people still view the Lightning as contenders, including myself, and, go farther in the playoffs, boost your value, so you can get more money when you get your RFA deal, whether that be with Carolina or another team, probably Carolina. Now, a big area that I think he could be effective in this series will be the power play. Tampa Bay's penalty kill looked really, really rough against the Florida Panthers, and if they don't fix that, then Svechnikov and Aho should absolutely be terrorizing the Lightning on the power play, that is. Although we'll see how this series goes. I'm really interested to see not just what Aho can do, but also Svechnikov and other players. Now, another major storyline here will be what kind of leash will Alex Nedeljkovic, there we go, get. The rookie had a pretty decent series against the Predators. It's always tough to tell when they go into overtime and stuff like that. I think there were some times that maybe he could have played a little bit better, but that's not all on him. We're not going to go too deep into that. But, they are going from Nashville to Tampa Bay. There is a totally big difference in these 2 teams, and that's what worries me a little bit for Nedeljkovic. The Lightning finished 8th in goals scored this season, and the Predators finished towards the bottom at 22nd. So there's a big gap. And Tampa Bay overall is better offensively. If somebody thought they weren't better than the Predators, you're new to hockey, or maybe you don't understand hockey, that's fine. But, Nashville has some really good players, I'll give them that. But Tampa Bay, I mean, come on. The Lightning have better offensive players. And I think that's going to be something they have to keep an eye on, because you have so many great players that you have to watch out for. But if the Hurricanes want to help out Nedeljkovic, maybe they could try to limit Kucherov and Point. If you had to pick 2 players to try to limit, that would help. But I am curious to see if maybe he has a rough game 1 or game 2. They put in Mrazek, see how what goes from there. That will be something we'll have to keep an eye on because, like I said, the Hurricanes have a young goalie in it. We'll see how long the leash is. And now this is a really, really fun storyline I wanted to cover here. This is actually from an article that I read, and I didn't copy the article, but they did bring up some interesting points I wanted to talk about. Now, it's about the what's at stake aspect, I guess, of this series. So for the Hurricanes, this series really could be the series where they're finally able to showcase that they're not just the up-and-coming kids that are able to win a few rounds, but really true contenders. And this isn't a dig at Carolina, because I think they're one of the most exciting young teams in the league. And they do things that are so fun off the ice too, with their Twitter, all that stuff. They just do things a little differently. But the thing is, they don't really have a true win against a true contender. Their best playoff series win, in my eyes, comes against the Capitals after they won the championship the year before. And so they upset them in the first round of 2019. Yes, they beat the Young Islanders in the second round after that. But other than that, they have beat the Predators. And they've had two really, really bad losses to the Bruins. They lost in 4 games in the conference finals and then in 5 games last year. So I think this really is a true chance to show that, hey, we are no longer just the up-and-coming team. We are true contenders. We can beat the defending champs again, but this time I think it's a little bit more, they are really like a true defending champion where you expect them to make another run. But that's, I think, a big thing that's at stake, because until they end up winning a serious run like this, I think it worries me for their future. Not to say they couldn't win a Stanley Cup, but it does worry me that they get beat really bad by the Bruins. If this is a rough series again against the Lightning, that's when concerns start to rise for me. But they could alleviate these concerns by either winning this series or losing it in a long series. Now, for the Lightning, this has to deal with more of what's at stake towards now. And that's trying to win another cup, because I'm not a financial expert by any means, but their cap situation's probably going to rear its head next year, I would imagine. And again, I'm not, I couldn't go through this and say, oh, I know this, and this, but I do know they use the LTIR a lot, the injured reserve list, where you can put players on there, and that way you can go over the cap, all that stuff, and they had to use it for Kucherov and other players as well. But I think that, I'm not sure if the cap will go up next year, and that's where it's starting to concern me for the Lightning. They're going to have Kucherov coming back. Stamkos has really been dealing with a lot of injuries the past 2 years, but he had a major injury 5 years ago too, I believe. And a tough decision is going to have to come out of this, where they probably are going to have to get rid of, maybe Stamkos, I don't know, just because of the injuries. He's owed $8.5 million a season for the next 3 years. So it's a lot of money to be dishing out to somebody that's been hurt a lot. Maybe they won't. I don't know. They're going to have to work around the cap. But this is definitely of what's at stake. They did trade some first-round picks, I believe, at least one for Savard. And they are showing that they are really pushing to win another cup, giving up assets, things like that. And they are getting to that point where it's going to be really hard with the cap, and who knows how slow it'll grow, to stay at the top. Now, that's not to say they couldn't win more cups with this core, but, they're going to have to make some moves, probably going into the off-season, before the regular season starts next year, to get under the cap and all that. And it's going to be one of those things where you're probably going to lose some good players, or at least a good player. And again, what's at stake? Another cup, probably. Your championship window could be closing a lot faster than we expected because of the COVID era, the cap not going up like we expected, all that stuff. So take advantage of this series now, because you don't know what your team's going to look like next year. Will it look good next year? Yes, but obviously somebody's probably going to have to go. And that's a big thing there. But I will give you my playoff prediction now. So for my playoff prediction of the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, I will be picking the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games. Now, I will say I wanted the Carolina Hurricanes to win, or I want them to win. They're a fun young team. They really, I think, attract a lot of fans outside of hockey, or maybe bring in more fans than you would expect. Sorry for my computer making a noise. But at the end of the day, I need to see it first. And Tampa Bay, you've been good for so long, I really couldn't root for you, and that's why there. But overall, I do think Tampa Bay will win it. And that's not to say Carolina couldn't, but it's a gut feeling, you know what I mean? And we'll have to go off of that. So let me know what you think of the series, who will win it, and how many games down below. Please make sure to subscribe if you have not. We are growing, and I thank you so much for that. I know we're getting closer and closer to 1,000. I know it seems like we're far away, but we've really got a lot of growth in these past few months. So everybody, stay safe, have a great day, and stay away from COVID, all right? Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.